What's up YouTube, this is Max from Reptile Fanatics. Obviously we are looking at a amphibian today. This is a Japanese fire-bellied newt enclosure. So this is just a cookie jar, right? So this is perfect for morphed Japanese fire-bellied newts. I'm not saying it's a perfect enclosure, but it's really cool creative enclosure, I'll put it that way. So I'm not advocating that, yes, look at this pasta from cats. If you've got cats, you know what I'm going through right now. Anyway, if you've got amphibians or you understand if you have experience with small amphibians, especially like more frogs, there's plenty of moisture in this. So how this works is that as a cookie jar, there is a plastic seal, right? When you put it in and you've got natural moss growing, the moisture stays in there, especially if you spray it once a day. Essentially they get the oxygen naturally and it builds a little enclosure and atmosphere and environment in there, right? From the live moss that's growing, plus the pebbles, the sand, the natural driftwood. But I've had these guys in there for 6 months. They're due for an upgrade. There's 2 Japanese fire-bellied newts. Now let's have a look. Can I get him close? There's the little rascal right there. All right, see the orange-tailed Japanese fire-bellied newts, the morphs. They get their orange stripe on the tail, and then they tend to lose it as they get bigger, all right? So I've got 2 of these guys in there. They love it, very active. This guy's keen for some food. Now, we're in winter here. It's 1 degree today in Christchurch, New Zealand, but very active, still feeding every day. Very voracious eaters when they're young, right? Feeding them on white worms, fruit flies, anything that's small that they'll get their hands on, but this guy's really keen for some food. Anyway, I've got a link below on how I built this. Now, this is a real cool, creative way to keep fire-bellied newts as babies. If you get 1 or 2, it would be perfect for here for the first 6 months. After this, they're going to go into something a lot bigger. It's going to be aquatic because they're going to go back into their more aquatic phase where they become young adults and then, or sub-adults as you like to call them, and then they'll go back into their adult lifestyle, right? They'll be fully aquatic essentially, feeding on bloodworms, earthworms, white worms, only with a little bit of land. But when they're the first 6 months of life outside of their morph phase, or I call it the axolotl phase, right? They lose their gills, build their lungs, they love being fairly terrestrial. They're generally nocturnal, like they're most active in the early evening throughout the night. And I find during the day they're hiding under their log. There's 2 hiding spots, one to this log, one to this log. They also climb all over the moss. And under the moss, this guy's really active. The other guys, or lady, not sure, is a bit more, I guess, skeptical of when I'm around, or a bit more shy, put it that way. So anyway, I've got a link below on how I built this. Very simple. Honestly, we've had guests come round, right? And they literally think it's just one of those little mini terrariums you can buy from a plant shop, right? They're like, oh, that's cool. Is that one of those mini terrariums? I'm like, well, it's actually a live terrarium. There's 2 newts in there. So my partner's not a reptile amphibian person, but she loves this enclosure, and the newts are growing on her because they're still cute and small, but obviously they're going to get a lot bigger. Anyway, guys, link below on how I built this. Everything's available on Amazon. Amazon has super fast shipping. Really cool. Really cool idea for anyone who wants to be a bit more creative with their baby newts or baby newt. You could probably get some more terrestrial frogs, the ones that don't require a lot of water, just a bit of moisture. Whistling tree frogs are really good because their maximum size is 1 to 2 centimeters. They don't get that big, but not a lot of hopping space, right? So I generally only recommend this for baby newts when they're morphed. And then obviously this is just a very short-term thing. And after they've morphed, I'll keep this as a little aquarium, or so I say terrarium, right? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts if you like the idea. If not, I've had some comments where they're like, oh, they're worried about it's too small or oxygen. Like I said, it's like a little ecosystem there with the growing plants. The newts are great. They're healthy. They've been there for 6 months. They're growing so quickly. They'll be out of here in no time. Look, stay tuned for my next video. My next video will be in their next terrarium, or should I say aquarium, where it's going to have pretty much all aquatic, and you're going to see the transition of how they go from a juvenile phase into a sub-adult phase, how you, I guess, encourage them to go back into the water, because sometimes if you've had multiple babies throughout their journey, right, if you haven't sold them off or you keep them, some of them like to tend to stay on land a little bit too long, and they really do need to be pushed back into that aquatic environment. And that's simply because in captivity, people just keep them in environments like this where there's not a lot of water, if none, for too long, and they get used to that terrestrial lifestyle, whereas their nature, their instinct should kick in with if you've got a lot of water provided in the environment, in the aquarium or terrarium, then they'll generally go towards the water at some stage. Some are late bloomers, some are early bloomers, but we'll see how these guys go. Stay tuned for the next one.